Hi everyone, you're watching the Culture Cave Conversation series. I'm Gabriella White. We are continuing our universe symphony discussion, and Scott Fields is going to be joining us in just a moment. In part one, our introduction, we talked a little bit about life experiences, the wake-up calls, incredible coincidences, incredible moments in life. Scott getting hit by a truck and how it kind of changed his life. And Scott is joining us now. I'm just going to share the screen again if I can. But before we do that, Scott, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, so in this episode, we're going to be talking more about the symphony of life, the octaves of life is where we kind of left off. So Scott very beautifully was saying to me this morning how music as an octave is actually symbolic and the actual reality of cycles of life. Am I describing that?
The universe itself, Also, I mean, if you look at your chakra system, you got 7 chakras, and then the eighth would be, in some traditions, there's the eighth above your head. It's the beginning of the next. 7, like in a musical scale, there's 7 notes, and then the octave, which is the start of the next. But yeah, Ra goes into that in the book, The Law of One, really, and also in the Ancient Secret Flower of Life by Below Melchizedek. Yeah, he goes into the chakras and how musical scale fits, and really for myself, when I started looking at the world that way, like you can see it in a lot of places in nature.
Wow.
I mean, if you put me on the spot, maybe name one right now, of course I probably couldn't do it, but it's there, promise.
Is in a natural spot.
Yeah, I mean, just the way that, I don't know, the number 7 seems to pop up a lot, or 8, 7 or 8, depending on how you look at it. Of course, all numbers do, really, I guess, if you're looking hard enough.
Absolutely. Yeah, like nine is a really auspicious number in Indian philosophy, which was, introduced to me by a guru. And I've never looked at the world in the same way since. And
Yeah, I bet. It's
just
like Nikola Tesla said,
yep,
if you understand 3, 6, and 9, then you understand the keys to the universe, or something like
the
that.
golden ratio, right?
Yeah, 1.618.
Right, that's the one. So we were just talking about that this morning in the biogeometric training. So that, and also there are so many numbers that are connected to the meridians of the earth, and architecture, and these sacred temple spots connected to the sacred geometry. But I learned today that the square root of 2 is actually also a number that's used in a lot of the alignment with pyramid related buildings, that kind of thing. I don't know whether I'm sure you already are familiar with pyramid beds. Like, people are putting pyramids over where they sleep as a portal to another dimension.
Yes, and not to keep referencing the Law of One, but it's just an awesome book. But they go into the pyramid shapes and their significance and how they work, really, in that book, also about how they channel, or they focus the Earth's energy if you have a pyramid big enough, like where you can, the king's chamber, which on the Egyptian pyramid is the spot, like where you get the most beneficial and spot of energy. There's different spots in the pyramid, like in Giza, where you get for different reasons, like one's for initiation, and another is for ascending, and I'm not finding the right words, but each spot in the pyramid is a different position in the rotation of the spiral of energy that comes up from the
Like a
earth.
level? Is it like a level or a dimension?
Like well, depending, like the way that Ra describes it is like the pyramid, it channels the energy from the earth, and it goes in a spiral, and like at the first spiral is the Queen's chambers, and I might be mutilating this, but something like first chamber is the first spiral is the Queen's chamber, and that's used for initiation purposes. I don't know, apparently you go in there and it's like sensory deprivation, you know, it attunes your body to a certain, you know, vibration, and then the next rotation is the King's chamber, and then the apex is, you know, at the top of the pyramid is there's a real focus of energy.
Yeah.
Like they suggest in the book that like the Bermuda Triangle, you know, how they have so many things going wrong there. It's and this is something I heard. It may or may not be true, but it's suggested in the book that there's a pyramid underground there.
Wow.
And out of the apex of the pyramid, it's the energy coming out that messes with people's instruments. But you know, who knows?
Who knows? So do we know what the situation is with the Bermuda Triangle and disappearing?
Yeah, see, I don't know about that. I mean, it's hard to say, you know, it could be going to another dimension, or
Yeah.
you know, who knows?
It used to be in the news a lot, didn't it? I suppose, like growing up, like in the 90s, I remember it being in the news quite a lot.
Right. And then they just stopped reporting on it. It's like, oh, it don't matter anymore. It's still happening, you know. It's still.
Is it really? Like,
yeah,
I think one of the common occurrences was kind of like planes disappearing, for example.
Right, just gone, no trace. You know, the radio goes out, and then all of a sudden their blip on the radar is gone, and they're just gone. Yeah, I mean,
inexplicable. Yeah, just so mysterious, and
it is. It's crazy.
Well,
you know, it's like one theory I heard was in that area is where Atlantis was, and they had a pyramid. They were trying to make an artificial Merkhaba, which is the energy field around our body, and they were trying to make an artificial one, and it went wrong, and that's what sank Atlantis, and that's why there's a messed up energy in that spot because of the out of alignment pyramid or whatever.
Goodness.
But back to the pyramids at Giza, another thing that they were built for, from my understanding, which I'm not an expert by no means, but it was to they're balancing pyramids. Like some of them were for initiation and stuff, like the one that has the King's chamber and the one at Giza or whatever. But some of the other ones were balancing pyramids, meant to help balance the energies of the earth. You know, like you were saying with the ley lines and how it's all connected. And,
right.
And like on Gaia, I don't know if you heard of Matthias de Stefano.
I have not. No.
Well, he's got a series on Gaia called Initiation. He's really awesome, but he remembers all of his past lives, and he goes on to and he's got a series on there called The Journey to Remembering.
Wow.
But he goes to he has his mission on Earth here was to go to all these places and perform certain rituals or something like that. I'm butchering it, but he did all these things, and it was to help usher in this new age of enlightenment that we're experiencing right now.
Wow.
But yeah, some of the stories he tells on there about, because he had to go be at a certain spot at a certain time and do a certain thing, and then some of the stories, the ways that he got to these locations, it's just like no planning at all, and all of a sudden somebody walks up to him and is like, "Hey, I'm supposed to find you and take you with me," and then that's how he ends up where he needs to be, and it's pretty awesome.
Wow.
Check it out, definitely.
It's so funny that you mentioned the word Merkhaba, because I was just actually coming on to that as a kind of a meditation tool, because it's become something, more maybe mainstream is not the word, but people are with it as a meditation tool, right?
Yeah, the Merkhaba or Merkhaba is it's actually three words, Mer Ka and Ba. Like, I can't remember what they mean, but hold on, let me grab a book.
Sure. Sure.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
let's get right on it. Let's get the definitions out there. But
yeah. Here's
there's
the
power. There's power in these meditations. Also, just the power of sound, the power of words, the you know, the kind of the vibration of Yeah, go ahead.
this is the ancient secret of the flower of life, and it
Right,
goes.
right.
It's all about sacred geometry, and it's got a lot of good stuff in there. But he got the John below. Like he's the one. He came up with the Merkhaba meditation. If you get into this book and you do this meditation every day for so long, you get your Merkaba spinning, and once he said it's like a bicycle wheel. If you spin it, it spins so long, and then it slows down.
Yeah.
But if you do this long enough, after a while, your Merkaba gets to it starts spinning on its own, and you don't, like he's saying, you do the meditation every day to get it spinning, and
Right.
then and then after so long, you don't have to do the meditation so often to keep it spinning. But
Mhm.
he says you're gonna want to anyway because it's just awesome. But
So can you tell us about Merkaba spinning and what the significance of that is, and just your understanding of Merkaba?
yeah, for sure. You're froze up, by the way. I don't.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my it's my archaic laptop, but that's okay. Go ahead, as long as you can hear me.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's the geometrical fields and energy fields around us. They make up the Merkaba. It's two tetrahedrons, interlocking tetrahedrons that make the star tetrahedron, which is kind of like the Star of David here. Like
Mm.
that. Let's see.
Oh yes,
You
I
see that
see.
shape?
Yep.
See that shape? That's the that's star tetrahedron is the Merkaba. There's two others. Um you got the top tetrahedron is the sun tetrahedron, and the one coming from the bottom is the earth tetrahedron, and
Yep.
they counter rotate, and that really that creates it, not creates, but it is your being. and
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean there's so much to say. I'm kind of drawing a blank, put me on the spot. I'm looking for the definition right now. um
But yeah, the shape of it really helps because that triggers what I was hearing about it. And I haven't done that particular meditation yet, but the Merkaba, that Star of David, right? Which is it
right.
this comes does it come from the Judaic tradition? Is it from Israel?
No, actually, that's I assume anyway that that's just because these shapes and like the flower of life and that that star or whatever, that's just been around for ever. But I
Mm,
imagine I don't know, but I assume that Judaism adopted that symbol,
mm,
from because they knew things back then that we don't know now. So I imagine
right.
it's probably got something to do with it.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. I apologize for my frozen screen at the moment.
Um,
There's a lot going on in the on the laptop right now. But anyways, we'll
for sure,
continue.
I apologize for my stuttering and stuff. I'm kind of a little nervous,
No,
but
that's
it's
all right. Plus, I mean, you're recovering from trauma, right? You've had this incredible, like this enormous accident. I mean, that must have actually really knocked it out of you.
oh yeah, it definitely knocked me somewhere. It put me in another state for sure. I
Yeah,
appreciate life a lot more now. It's coming
yeah.
so close to death.
Right. Let me just give me 1 second. I just need to turn off this
Okay.
gargoyle.
All right.
It's kind of a Gregorian chant. I have it on an alarm and it kind of comes on every so often. But anyways, that's another story. So this book, The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, who is the author?
Drunvalo Melchizedek, and he goes into all in, like the first book is like you've heard of Thoth, right?
I have indeed.
Thoth, yeah. Well, apparently Thoth came to him and sat with him for several years and gave him all this information so that he could share it with all of us. And he so yeah, he's it's quite extensive, and he's explaining things. I mean, it's very, like I said, I'm scientific, so it's up my alley. It's really a left brain kind of, the left right brain kind of labels that they've people throw around, like the left brain is analytical thinking, reasonable brain, and the right brain is the feeling and emotions. But yeah, it's a very left brain book. The way, I mean, it's really left and right brain. Really the first book explains it in left brain like terminology, so you can understand it that way. And then the second book explains it more in a feminine kind of right brain, because the masculine, or is like straight lines, and the feminine's more curves.
Right.
And I notice we're bouncing all around all over the place.
We are indeed, but it'll all come together. I suppose things will settle, and
right.
we'll get more focus as we go. But it's all fascinating. So we're just kind of introducing this series right now. But I'm just actually connecting something that you said. So you mentioned that the left brain is, did you say that's the feminine side, or was it the right brain?
No, the right brain's the feminine, the left is masculine.
I see.
But I mean, and those are just labels. It's not, I mean, it's more like a positive and negative kind of thing. It's like, this is just one side of coin, that's the other. And those are just labels that we put on them, right?
Right.
But the way, and there's debates around whether or not it really is significant. But the way I understand it is, the male left brain is the thinking, reasoning, analytical side. The like the kind of the way that society is now. We're all materialistic and rationalizing. I don't know, I'm probably not explaining it, but then the feminine side is more about emotion and feeling your way into things, and energy, and and so I'm still looking for the definition of the Merkhaba.
The dictionary definition of Merkhaba.
There are three words I know. One of like Merkhaba, and one is spirit, and one is body, and then they all come together.
Is it mind, body, and spirit, something like that?
I mean, that sounds right, but I don't think so. Hold on.
There might be something else.
I might find it.
While you're searching for that,
right.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about energies of space-time connected to brain hemispheres, because you mentioned the different brains, and like I was saying, I've just come out of this fascinating biogeometry training about the ancient Egyptian methods, and the multidimensionality of motion in Earth is based on energy grids in no uncertain terms. So the linear motion creates a multidimensional energy key in the form of consecutive donut shapes around central wormholes around the linear motions. It's all about the motion.
Yeah, toroidal fields, right? The donut shapes for like a toroidal field, like a toroid.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Okay, yes, we're on the same page. So the line of motion has a transcendental origin and moves parallel images in other dimensions. The Earth energy grids are multidimensional, with several planes moving at different angles, and there is motion awareness on the space level. It talks about the perception of space-time.
The jargo is going on.
Yeah, there'll be a choir coming on just now, so just bear with me. It's a little bit of a soundtrack to this lecture, but the human body experience is connected
right
to, right,
the toroid shape. For the Taurus. That's the Taurus.
Second, all right.
Okay. It's funny.
Sorry about that. So yeah,
This,
coming back
this
to
was
what
the page I was on. See,
looks like a similar chart.
that's a toroid. Right in the center is the Merkhaba, and that's your
Yes,
body, and it generates the field outward like that. And you see, it's got the toroidal shape, your energy flow, and then it's got the plane of what existence or whatever,
yes,
the different.
yeah.
And then there's, yeah. No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's
There's
all right.
another.
Right on. It's the same. We're literally on the same page, but in
Right, and that's funny. That's
textbooks,
what I was
which
gonna
is
say. That's the page I was on
there
when
you
you were
go.
talking
There you
about it.
go. We're definitely on the right path here of something.
Right. That's a. It says here in the caption, it's a full light body surrounding all life forms,
Right.
and all forms are alive.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I don't know
Beautiful.
if you could tell us anything about the wormholes. I'm not a scientist, actually, but it talks about the mental and emotional wormhole experience. So it's not just about manifesting our beings into the physical, but these wormholes, they also, it's connected to emotional experiences. So it talks about it's called the emotional and mental time-space interaction and the points where they meet. So there are these crossing points where we have our
Okay.
existence and the wormholes, and that's kind of these are the theories behind power spots.
And that represents what where the points meet is what? The
Let
power
me see.
spots?
Yeah, I mean the power spot of the emotional experience, not place in this
Okay. Right.
diagram. So the emotional mental time space interaction, where there's a mental wormhole, which is the vertical one, and then there's the space time wormhole, which is a kind of a horizontal linear
Right.
motion. Yeah.
Okay.
So when they
Wow.
come together, it's powerful, or something occurs, right?
Okay. So that's pretty much saying that's how everything occurs is through our emotional experiences and the interacting with the space time of
Yes,
reality, and that
exactly.
makes so much sense because
Yeah,
it's like your emotions and your state of mind, everything, and that creates your reality.
right. Yeah, so
And
this is the study of biogeometrics, which connects to the human experience of space time,
right,
how
space
we
time.
perceive it in our, let's just call it, limited bodies, for a lack of a better term, because we do
Right,
have this limited perception in the daily life.
right, yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I love that.
It
It's like,
is. Yeah, so like
I mean, like that's a way to describe, like, for my analytical mind, and so it makes sense to me that our emotional wormhole meets with the space-time
yeah,
wormhole to create reality.
it's it's pretty cool stuff. I'll go a little deeper because it's actually connected to what you were saying about well, you mentioned that the left and right side of the brain, and that's what triggered me to talk about this. So in the initiation of the human existence, and also the initiation of the different levels of the pyramids, which you also mentioned, that the different levels of the initiation of higher consciousness, each
Right.
level
Okay.
of, right, which we talked about earlier today in our call, right? So the traveling in dimensions of time from the sensory experience, as in the now, to multi-dimensional time, which I believe is also dream time. In fact,
Right.
the Aborigines would talk about dream time as well, right? Um, Spiritual attainment is a tool, so achieving a high level BG3 energy, a portal energy, is the first step in biogeometrics connected to ancient Egypt. So putting the BG3 in action is the goal with this
Right.
pendulum work. Then it talks about the right brain and the left brain hemispheres, and how
Right.
they connect with that. So the goal is raising the level of excellence in action, but it's all about taking action, which we can also apply to our lives.
Right. Yeah.
The biogeometric theory states that action is translated into right brain quality, permanency and universality.
Right, I get it. It makes sense.
Yeah,
Your left brain does it. Your right brain, comprehends it and makes it reality, or something like that. I mean,
yeah. Here's the
because
wild,
our actions kind of create our emotions, and our emotions kind of influence our actions, and
right?
it's like a cycle.
The yin and yang, right? Of our,
Yeah, it's like you kind of have one without the other.
yes,
They're intertwined, interlocked.
yeah.
That's good.
Well, here's the wild part. So the heartbeat is about the pulsation in line with cosmic time that is connected to the lungs and heart, but in fact it's connected beyond the lungs and heart. So it's actually in line with the cosmic heartbeat, the cosmic
Right,
pulsation,
yeah.
the cosmic rhythm. It's connected to cosmic time. And
Yes.
so long
I,
as we're
I
in
can.
rhythm with it, we stay alive. When we get out of rhythm for too long, we start to
Hmm.
have health problems and eventually we die. And
Right, exactly.
and that's
And
because
I
we're
go
moving
ahead. I'm
out of
sorry.
that
Out
experience
of
to
sync,
another one.
with the nature, with the world. Out of
Right,
sync with the universe. And
right.
it's
So
so crazy you say that. It's like sometimes, most of the time when I meditate, I pay attention to my heartbeat, and I think of it as like a sine wave. Like the sine wave is, right? And if you
mm,
listen, there's like a high pitched sound. It's like
mm,
crickets, maybe, but there's not. It's just the hum of the earth, and it's always there 24/7. I mean, it just never goes away. And
yeah,
if you listen to that intently, like I have been, I do, and you can hear the rise and the fall. It's like, the car, you hear it coming toward you and getting louder, and then as it's going away, you can
mm,
hear those sounds. It's like, and if you time your breathing, and just, I don't know, I just focus on the sound, and then my
yeah.
body kind of just gets in sync with it. And you can tell when you get in sync, because then that energy just starts flowing in.
That's amazing. So you
Yeah,
said sine wave, SINE, right?
right, yeah, sine wave, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just like a wave, but equal distance
yes,
between the
yeah,
troughs and valleys. But,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
it's yeah, it's like, and that's, like most things that measure stuff, that's how they measure it, with a wave of some sort, right?
Mhm.
And that's what I think of as the universe. Is like, it's everything. It's all like a sine wave, and if you get in, it's like a river flowing. If
It is, it is. Well, we
you
talked
get you
about,
just go with the flow, it's like you
yes,
go right on downstream. But if you
yes,
try to swim upstream, you're gonna peter out and
it's a tough
drown. Or
swim. Yeah, yeah. Well,
eventually, you just give up anyway. It's like, why fight it? Because eventually you get
right,
tired and you're just like, okay.
right. So you may as well go with the flow
Right.
as early as possible, right? I mean, we talked about life being like a roller coaster. I feel life is an ocean. Life is an
Yes.
ocean of rising and falling tides, and it's also, with
Right.
the earth, it's seasonal. I feel like our lives are seasonal. Um,
Absolutely. Our
and
lives here are definitely, because
yeah,
we're creatures of this wonderful planet,
yeah.
and
Well, one
with
thing,
this.
Scott, one thing I haven't talked to you yet about in our phone calls so far, and I'll just mention it right here, right now, is coral. I know it's a completely different topic, but I'm just getting into
That's right on court, right on par for our conversations then,
it.
right?
It is
Off
just,
topic.
yeah, the preservation of our planet and bleaching, like the coral. I got really into this topic just last year, and it hasn't left me. Just the importance of coral in our oceans. And there was a marine biologist very beautifully said, the ocean may look fine, it keeps the tides keep rising and falling, the ocean looks fine on the outside. What's actually going on inside of the ocean now is so serious. The ocean is actually dying. And
Yeah.
when you put it like that, it really hammers it home. It's almost as powerful as saying, as human beings, we are dying. Like we're all individually very slowly dying, but we're
Well,
all
yeah.
right.
Like, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't cut
But
you
also,
off.
like humanity is dying. Like we're
Yeah.
we're
I was
dying.
gonna say.
Right.
The earth is dying, you know, we are the earth. And that's, I mean, I don't want to say that's the problem, because I don't know what the problems are, but that's some of the things that I see that I wish people would realize, is that we're not separate from the
Right.
earth. We're not on this earth.
Right.
We're of this earth, you know.
Right.
And like you say, the
Right.
ocean is dying. It's like we are dying, you know. We're killing our oceans. We're killing ourselves, because,
Right.
you know,
Right.
I love this. I had this realization once, and I'm sure many people have come to it, about how the earth, it, it it's just like a human, you know. And like, if you look at trees
Yeah.
and look at lungs, you know, they're just, the trees inhale carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen, and we breathe in oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. You know,
Right.
it's like, it's so great. And like the rivers are like the veins and arteries in our bodies,
Yeah.
and the water is the blood of the
Right.
planet.
Right.
And just like in your body, if there's any part of your body that doesn't get blood, what happens? It withers and dies, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
same thing
Right.
with our planet, you know, we need.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it just upsets me to see that we're killing the ocean.
Indeed. Indeed.
And really, it's the way I think of it when I hear people say that, you know, is yeah, we're killing the oceans for us, you know, pretty
Right.
much. You know,
It's so
it will, if even if we can't live, Earth will live on without us. I'm sure she
yeah.
would prefer to do it with us, but
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. But it would hopefully revive somewhat without the ongoing destruction, and deforestation is something I feel very, very passionate about as well. Is uh,
yeah, it's
something that
that.
the earth will tip. David Attenborough talks about it. The earth will tip. The earth has reached its tipping point, but it can still be saved. But it certainly made me look at the ocean in a different way when I'm snorkeling, diving, that kind of thing. I look at something and I think, wow, you're dying. I'm dying.
uh,
We're in this moment. This
and
is
you
an
feel
incredible.
connected, and
Right.
yeah, I
This
agree.
is like an incredible opportunity to savor this moment of connectedness, because this is never going to happen again. Maybe I'll see you again in a different dimension, but it's not going to be the same, and we're not necessarily going to remember, you know.
That's so funny you say that, because I was just thinking about this. Another thing about Ra says in the Law One about how every entity goes through the dimensions, progresses one
Oh
through,
yes.
and really it's more of a, time is really irrelevant. It's just the way we perceive things. So it really happens all at once. But anyway, each entity goes through one, two, three, four, and the Earth itself, from what Ross says, Earth is already moved into the fourth dimension, and it's really waiting on us to catch up. The only reason it's not fully a fourth dimensional planet is because the compassion that Earth feels for us, it could just shake us off, have a giant
Right.
shift the poles, or a giant
Right.
hurricane or tornado, and just kill us. We'd all. But Earth is trying to, let us, and we're coming around, but we
Yeah.
need to hurry up, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
she can only hold back the flood for so long.
Right. So Dolores Cannon, I'm friends with her daughter Julia. That the great Dolores Cannon, who sadly passed away a few years ago. I was never able to meet her. She wasn't able to travel to Japan, but her daughter Julia came to Japan and we podcasted. But anyways, Dolores, as you know, speaks about the giant cell that kind of is moving away, so that the Earth is rebirthing itself. It's like an organism. It's breaking away, and there are people that are going into this new dimensional space, and there are people that are choosing to continue on this plane.
Right? Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's pretty well. I love that.
I can see it. I can see it. Not in the visual, but I can imagine it. I can definitely imagine it. I mean, why not? Some people
Right.
are
Yeah.
saying it's wild, but it's why not? Why is that not a possibility?
Right. It sounds logical to me. And like I was explaining to you earlier about how entities go through the dimensions, and like eventually third dimension beings like us, we graduate and
Yeah.
to a fourth dimension, and we need, and like we need a fourth dimensional planet to go have our experiences on and learn, right?
Yeah.
And so like Earth being a fourth dimensional planet now, us three-dimensional beings are stuck in our minds and the third dimension. But so like when you die, like when we die from this planet now, if you're not ready to go to a fourth dimensional planet, then you can't come back to Earth. You have to reincarnate on another third dimensional planet somewhere else, because as it is right now, Earth, I don't know, I'm getting way too deep. You're gonna have to read the book or have a discussion itself on this, because there's just so much there to explain about it.
It is. It's an enormous topic, but I think we're brave for getting into it.
Right, for sure. I'm sure I could do a whole series on just the law of one, just reading it and talking about it, and explaining the way that Ra describes and explains these topics, like chakras and dimensions and all this stuff. I've read the books twice, and I would probably read it again, because every time I do, you get more information.
Oh, how wonderful. So like Ra, you're talking about the sun god, right? So the
right, yeah, I mean, that's it's one and the same, but it's the way Ra says in the book is the name has been I don't know how to put it. It's not, they are not a god, they describe them. That's one of the reasons that they left, because Ra said that they were back years ago, Egypt time, they came to this planet and made themselves visible to us, and they were perceived as gods, and so that's why they left. And they gave us information back then, and it was perverted and used for only the elite. So that's why they stuck around, to try to fix their mistakes, for lack of better words. And that's why Ra's here now, still helping us and trying to help awaken and get as many souls ready for the harvest, is what they call it. Harvest the souls, and so we can move on. And the way Ra describes it is, like I was saying to you earlier about this is the choice, the dimension of choice, service to self or service to others. And that's the purpose of this dimension, is to make that choice. And there's actually, because the guy done the questioning, he just does it exquisitely, but he gets a percentage. He says, if you're on the service to self path, if you're on the service to others path, you only got to be 51% service to others. So as long as 51% of all your motives, emotions, and whatever is, towards others, like, you don't have to be aware of the law of one or any of this to graduate or be harvestable.
That's
as long as 51% of your, your intentions, your love, your emotion, all that, as long as 51% is service to others, then you're okay. You get to graduate, move on to the fourth dimension. But if for the service to self path, you have to be 95% service to self. That's like almost 100% only serving yourself. There's people out there. I've met people like that. Self-serving people, like they only purpose other people have, or the only reason that there's other people is to, they believe is to serve them. They manipulate them, and there's people like that, and that's okay too. That's the path they've chosen. But it's crazy.
I guess as long as it's done as kind of like ceremony and a kind of ceremoniously, that in a kind of I guess a graceful way, that might be the way back to the divine. You're watching the Culture Cave. We're just coming to the end of part 2. I'm here with Scott Fields, and we're having some really fascinating discussions, delving deep. We're going to be back very shortly with part 3, I believe. Are you still with us? All right.
It's getting pretty late here, but might be able to do it.
All right, Scott. So thank you everyone for watching. We'll catch you very soon for episode 3.